Hello everyone, welcome. My name is Willie Sharp. Here I am sitting by this beautiful F-8 Crusader. I had out in front of me this desire to fly this airplane, and I followed that desire. It was a big part of my life. The airplane was hit and the poor little thing was losing pieces all the way out, but it finally got me out over the water and I ejected from it. It gave its life for me, really.
Mayday. On fire. Freedom, it's gonna blow. Got it. Go now, go, quick.
The Fresno Bee had a picture of an airplane in the paper. It said, Navy's sleek new fighter, and here was a picture of this airplane behind me, the F-8 Crusader. Oh my God, I fell in love with it right there. I was only in high school, but I fell in love with this airplane. I couldn't get it out of my mind. It clouded all my thoughts. As I did come toward graduation at Fresno, I had met a young lady with whom I fell in love. We were talking about marriage, and of course, I had friends who were going to Vietnam already. They had already been drafted and gone to Vietnam, so I went to a Navy recruiter on the campus, and he told me about a program where I could be married during flight training. And once we finished with that, then we were ensigns in the Navy. That's the lowest rank you can have as an officer in the Navy, is an ensign. A big moment. My wife pinned those wings on for me, and we fit right in. I loved the airplane. I loved flying. I loved her. She said she loved me. Navy issues us a .38 revolver that we use it more for signaling. We can carry tracer ammunition in that, and you can see for miles if a guy's down in the water if he shoots a tracer up. So my sweet wife stopped at a gun shop and she bought me a Ruger .22 automatic. Here's your pistol. I said, what the hell is this for? He said, the executive officer had recommended that we buy you a survival pistol. So I carried it in a zipper pocket in my flight suit, and at times I'm thinking, why am I carrying this? I kind of forgot about it then. It's just part of everything I put on. It was a day like any other day, as they say, filled with the events that altered the course of men's lives, and mine really got altered in a hurry. I was flying as a flak suppressor. It was A-4 airplanes, the little bombers that we had, and another F-8 and I were going to escort them and try to protect them from anti-aircraft fire and stuff while they were doing their bombing. We were over a stratus layer of clouds all the way in, and we didn't see any ocean at all. We finally broke past the clouds, and just a few miles is where our target was. The place lit up with anti-aircraft fire. At least two 57 millimeters on the west side of the target, and one great big 85 millimeter right underneath me. So I got the nose down and I unloaded all four of my fuselage rockets on him, all four of them, just a big blast. Very effective. That thing stopped immediately. Then I pulled back around, and just as I had climbed up to the other side of the target, I looked down and there's another, they're just uncovering an 85 on this side. So I pulled in and I was making a run on him. And just as I got the nose down, I felt a boom, boom. But then there was a dull shudder like this in the airplane. And I said, shit, I knew I was hit. First time I'd ever been hit, but I knew I was hit. What scared me then was I could feel the whole airframe was shaking like this, so I knew something was bad. So I already had my nose down. I fired all rest of I had the 4-pack on each wing, so I fired all 8 of those Zunis at that thing. And then I called my lead, Jack Buckley. I said, I've been hit back here. His call sign was Cactus. I said, Cactus, I've been hit back here. He said, how bad is it? I said, I don't know, but I think it's serious. And he turned around to look. I was behind him, and he turned around to circle back, and he said, shit, you're on fire. You better get out of it. And I said, well, I don't want to go right here. I want to go a little further away. So he said, okay, if it gets any worse, you're going to have to get out of that thing. Well, I climbed up to 15,000 feet. Then I just leveled off and just go as fast as I could, as far as I could. I was aiming toward a ship called the Gridley. It's a light cruiser that's floating out in the Gulf of Tonkin. I started losing pieces off the airplane. The guys flying along with me were trying to suggest things about maybe to help the fire not spread so quickly. I lost 2 of my 3 hydraulic systems, and as I was flying along, I was in a skid, but I wasn't aware of it. Skid is when something is out of symmetry on the airplane hanging down, and so instead of going straight into the wind, I was going like in a skid because of this one wheel that was hanging down. I wasn't aware of that. To me, it wasn't important, even if I had been aware, but it became important pretty soon because I got myself ready for ejection. I tightened up all my harnesses, just going along with one hand on the ejection curtain and one hand on the throttle. Well, that moment came. One of the guys said, "That fire's getting worse. You better go. Go now, go. Don't wait." But urgent, very urgent. And so I ejected. I just let go of the stick, reached up and pulled the ejection curtain down over my face, and boom, out I went. When I ejected, the wind, instead of coming straight on to me like it's designed to do when you pull that curtain down and pull it to cover your face and then tuck your arms in tightly, well, I did all of that, but the wind hit me from the right-hand side, that 500-mile-an-hour wind, 450 knots, and it caught my left arm and blew it back around my body so violently I thought I lost it. I thought to myself, I said, I'm going to bleed to death before I get to the water. I could just imagine blood coming out like a fire plug. But after the parachute opened, now I'm sitting in my parachute. I look down and my arm is still there. I was barely able to close my fingers together. It's so painful, but I had it. It was still attached, which was the important part. And so there I sat. I had a good shoot. Everybody knew where I was. All my flying mates now are going past me, rocking their wings, giving me the finger. I can't give them one with my left hand, but I could give them one with my right hand. They've told the rescue facilities where I am, and so it seemed like my problem is solved. I'm just going to sit back and enjoy the ride now. So I go down into the clouds, and when I came out the bottom of the clouds, holy shit, I looked and there are boats as far as the eye can see. And I slipped quite a ways out and landed a little further out in the water. When I did, I didn't try to get in the raft. I just pulled it over to me and hung onto it with my right arm, kept my head down, thinking maybe they hadn't seen me. All of a sudden, the one boat had turned, and now he's coming toward me. The 2 guys I saw, one guy had an AK-47, and he shot 3 bursts off to my right side. And now he's yelling and pointing at a net below him on the side of that boat. I couldn't use my left arm, so I put my right arm, and my first step with my left foot went through the net, and I slid down to my crotch. Now I'm banging against the side of the boat until I can get my foot repositioned to lift myself back up out of there. Got my upper body over the railing, and he swung and hit me with a rifle butt, broke my nose and knocked a tooth in. Hard. And when I did, I kind of collapsed. I went down hard on the deck, got myself back up again, stood up, and then I lifted my left arm over my head to surrender. And when I did, there were 2 guys. The one with the AK-47 has got that trained on me, and the other guy came reluctantly up and took the .38 revolver that I carried in a holster around my waist, and he went back to the center of the boat and sort of crouched down. Now I'm standing here facing the guy with the AK-47, and over his shoulder, just coming out of the clouds, I saw one of our A-1 Sky Raiders. And he's in a hard right turn, and now he's leveled out and he's coming directly toward us. He's like 300 yards away, but he's coming straight at us, almost hitting the water with his prop. He is packing the mail. The guy with the AK-47 has no idea that this airplane is coming. So I started moving my left foot back to brace myself when he flew over, and all of a sudden, here he is, rush. He comes, and the prop wash, and you could smell the exhaust, and my God, it was just horrific. And the guy with the AK-47 collapsed. He went down onto the deck and covered it, and he's gritting his teeth as if he thought it was going to blow up. The guy wasn't paying any attention. This is when I thought that pistol that my wife had bought me might be a good idea. Through my mind went a few doubts. It would be difficult to get out, maybe. Cocking the thing, you have to hold the two ears on the thing and pull back rather strong spring to get it cocked. Then it'll fire every time you shoot it. And then whether or not it would fire, I'd been in the water there for a bit, and so it may not fire at all. But I thought this might be my only chance to escape, so I figured I'd risk it. So I reached up and unzipped that pocket, and the handle was right there. Came out without any hesitation. I turned it around, and on my legs we wear these leg restraint straps, and it's a triple thick canvas web that's almost I'd say maybe a 1/4 inch tie and rather square on the edge. So I put the left ear of that receiver on there, and I pushed down with my left hand, just open it and push forward, and I got it cocked on the first try. Thank God. So I stood up, and I guess my motion caught his attention, or the cocking the pistol or whatever. He looked and saw me holding this .22 pistol that my wife had bought me, and he turned around and looked at the other guy like, where in the hell did that come from? I know, I could read it on his mind. He saw him take a pistol from me, and here I am holding one. He just can't figure it out. And then he did the wrong thing. He decided he was going to point his AK-47 at me. When he started to point it at me, I shot him. The other guy that had taken my .38 saw me shoot this guy, and he raised it up and pulled the trigger. What he didn't know was about 3 months before that, this whole incident happened, some guys in our sister squadron were having a quick draw contest, and one of them accidentally fired off a round in the ready room, with steel bulkheads, steel overhead, steel deck. That apparently ricocheted around in there various places and finally embedded harmlessly in the seat back. But the commander of the air group made it policy to carry only 4 rounds in there, so that the one under the hammer is empty and the next one in sequence is empty. So if you happen to drop it on the hammer, it won't fire, or the first time you pull the trigger, it's going to rotate to an empty chamber and it won't fire. So that was the condition my pistol was in. So when I shot this guy, the guy with my .38 raises it and pulls the trigger, and it didn't fire. So he dropped it and turned around and jumped in the water. I'm still standing here. I've got the yellow lanyard with my raft floating in the water below. So I just jumped back off and got my raft. Pretty soon a helicopter arrived. I had a flare of my own. I took it out and fired that flare off and was waving at him with it. One of the guys flying the helicopter said on a loudspeaker, "Clear your raft, swim clear of your raft." So that's when I let go of my trusty raft. I unhooked that lanyard and let it go, and they came into a hover and they dropped a horse collar down for me to get into. The guy pulling on the hoist up there was getting impatient. He just started lifting me up before I could put it around my body. So I just held on with my right elbow, and I went up holding on like that. Got up and pulled me into the helicopter, and I flopped me down like a caught fish. Well, I almost went up and made him crash because I went up and was trying to hug the pilot. He was forcing me back, like, get back here, right. Have that damn thing crash after they saved my life. I went back and sat on the floor. The guy yells to me, it's loud on there, he yells, "Are you okay, sir?" he says, and I said, "Yes, I'm fine, yeah, I'm okay." They flew me back to the Gridley. Of course, everybody in the crew on the Gridley knew that they were bringing back a pilot who had just been shot down. a whole bunch of the crew were there, and there's this young enlisted man right there by the hatch. Most touching thing, as I got close to him, he said, "Welcome home, sir." I just couldn't. I almost cried. I may now. So anyway, I thanked him and went on in. We went down to sick bay, and they started. The doctor came, and he was dealing. I got shot in both calves. I wasn't even aware of it till I got in the salt water. Guy came and said, the skipper said he'd like to see you in his wardroom if you don't mind. And I said, yeah, I'd like to. I'd like to go see him. So after they finished with me, he led me up to the skipper's stateroom and said, "Get in here, son," you know. He's standing by his desk, and he's got a bottle of scotch and a bottle of bourbon standing there. And he said, "Scotch or bourbon?" And I said, "Yes and yes." Several days after I survived being captured and escaping, I was anxious to get back to flying. Sure enough, they had an airplane that was ready to be flown back, so I asked if I could do it. I talked to our flight surgeon, and he said it's okay with him if I flew. He looked at my range of motion, and I could painfully lift it up and do this. And anyway, he was kind of easy on me. The next morning, I went down and got in that beautiful airplane and fired it up and headed back for the ship. So now I'm thinking, you know, it's going to be my first time back since I got shot down, and I'm going to be the only airplane. And so I worked it on down, got lined up with the ship, and I went ahead and rolled it inverted, ship up ahead, and here I come by it. And now as I'm flying by it, and I see the ship going by, I'm trying to fly level with the flight deck. I'm trying to think, which way do I roll this thing to go? So I remembered now I'm going to raise the right wing, and now I can turn and make my normal 360-degree pattern and turn around and come back and land. So that's what I did. When I finally taxied forward and parked, a plane captain ran up to help me get out of the airplane, and I'm walking back, got my helmet bag, you know, swinging along, and I'm walking pretty sprightly now. I'm feeling good about myself. And the air boss on the 1MC now says, "Sharp." And I go, like, what? What did I do? I figured that was the last straw. I couldn't go any further, so I kind of behaved after that for a few days. Probably 20 years after this incident, I was able to tell my wife what had taken place. I had a full-blown replay of it in Philadelphia on a layover. Thank God it was a long layover. And I went through the entire thing, and it was kind of cathartic. I decided I would tell my wife when I got home, and so I did. We sat down, and I said, "I'm going to tell you something." And she said, "Did you cheat on me?" And I said, No, I did not. When I said I got shot down, something bad happened. And I told her. I told her the entire story. And she sat there and listened to me with her jaw dropped. She had no idea. Well, she may have had an idea, but she didn't know the specifics of it. And it was good for both of us. We both got a good cry out of that. And that pistol that you gave me, that I thought I would never use, was sitting right there by my heart in my flight suit. So you saved my life. You gave me life. Later on, when we would have a minor disagreement, she would say to me, "Remember, I saved your goddamn life." I said, "How many times do I have to pay for that?"
Let history show, for purposes of rescue, Lieutenant J.G. Sharp spent 2 days on Gridley prior to returning to his home carrier, the Bon Homme Richard. This tape of the history of your first punch-out with the compliments of USS Gridley, take this and may it be a memento and perhaps a conversation piece in your ripe old age.